Welcome to Canadian Coffee House Crime. My name is Catherine, and right now I am residing in the town of Jasper, Alberta, working the Marmot Basin ski hill for a season. So I thought I'd do a series of cases from the Jasper National Park area. I'll be able to drive around to certain areas and give you some good footage. My last 4 cases, the first one from Jasper, the stabbing of Kenzie Beaton. Then from Hinton, the torture of Nature Duperron. The Icefields Parkland, the Icefields rollover. The death of a dentist at the Chateau Lake Louise. Today we're going to the Revelstoke, BC for the Kiwi killer. I'll finish off the Alberta National Park series in Banff with the hauntings of the Banff Springs Hotel. Then I thought I would start a series in the Niagara Falls, Ontario area, and yes, that will include the infamous Bernardo/Homolka craziness. My 5th case in the Jasper National Park area series is from Revelstoke, BC. Honestly, I chose Revelstoke, BC because they have this cool outdoor slide thing that I wanted to check out this summer, and I'm really stoked about it. So I decided to see if there was anything from the headlines from there, and lo and behold, there is a case from the Revelstoke, BC area. Revelstoke, BC is a 3-hour drive from Banff. Revelstoke houses 8,500 people, founded in 1880 in lieu of the CN Railway Company, which passed through for mining. Named after Lord Revelstoke, who was the head of the bank that saved the CN Railway from bankruptcy in 1885, buying up a bunch of its stocks. Revelstoke is situated, heavily populated area by black and grizzly bears, so much so that they had to put an electric fence around the city's dump site as it was getting ransacked, and many bears were destroyed because of this. Films that were filmed there was the 1937 The Great Barrier, the 1999 Double Jeopardy with Tommy Lee Jones, 2001 The Barber, 2017 Frozen in Love. Revelstoke made headlines this week, actually, when 2 brothers were killed in a heli skiing accident after an avalanche covered them completely and almost killing their instructor at the Mount McRae area due to the unpredictable snowpack. Heli skiing is when you are flown to the top of a mountain as far as 30,000 meters up and ski down, sometimes taking days to get down. On Wednesday, August 18th, 2010, police were called to the Upper Arrow Lake at the Shelter Bay Provincial Park after 8 p.m. Shelter Bay is a popular fishing site 50 kilometers south of Revelstoke. Police had a report that Laura Beckett had fallen out of a small boat called a Zodiac fishing boat. She could not swim and was not wearing a life jacket. CPR was attempted but had failed. Laura Alice Letts was born July 16, 1960 in Westlock, Alberta, to parents Park and Beth, raised in a conservative Christian order called the Plymouth Brethren. I went to a wedding in Westlock once. Shout out to Mary and Mike Grew. Laura grew up in Westlock and was an elementary school teacher at DAP School for 27 years and made around $2,600 a month. She was a pleasant woman and well-loved. Unfortunately, she suffered from depression from a sexual assault from her childhood. She was also to have been known to be scared of her parents, who owned thousands of acres of land and a cattle ranch in northern Alberta. In 1995, she bought a ticket on Unimog Adventure Tours of Hawke's Bay, New Zealand, which was a sightseeing ferrying tour of Cape kidnappers south of Napier in New Zealand, which used 4-wheel drive vehicles to drive to the Gannet colony. Peter Beckett owned this company. He had bought 2 ex-Army Unimogs and set up his business, and then called his 40-year-old competitor called Gannet Beach Adventures and told them he was going to put them out of business in 2 years, lodging numerous complaints about them, costing them thousands of dollars in legal fees. Laura met Peter during this trip, where Peter said it was beyond love at first sight. Laura returned to Canada, but after her trip, Laura stayed in contact with Peter. Peter Beckett was born in 1957 and was raised in the Hawke's Bay area. He was 6'8" and 400 pounds. Peter was married to a lady named Wendy Sale with their 4 kids at the time. In 1998 to 2001, Peter was one of the 4 men to be elected to the Napier City Council in New Zealand. During his campaign, he used caricatures to mock his opponents and promised to expose administrative corruption and was considered odd because of his lack of publicity. He was considered to be a loner, not a team player, erratic, self-serving, obnoxious, odd, prone to sudden outbursts of aggression and to contain a conspiracy mentality. He made serious allegations against other members and would call members out of the blue in the middle of the night and be abusive. He would show up late at gatherings and then take home the unopened alcohol that was community bought. In 1999, during Peter's first year as a councilman, he was in a bar. Greg Helford, who owns the Shepherd Arms Hotel in Thorndon, Wellington, was at the Napier's Shed 2 bar with his younger rugby teams called the Magpies. Greg, who was the captain of the team, wrote a letter of complaint to the council board and the mayor at the time, Alan Dick. Peter, who was drinking, started following the team around the bar, being abusive, demanding the team respect him, and used his size to intimidate the team. He started chest pointing some of the team members. Greg tried to walk away from Peter after he started calling him names, but Peter followed him and open-handed slapped the captain across the face. Out of respect for himself and his team, he left the bar. Peter stated that it was a mistake of identity and he thought Greg was an old surfing buddy. In 2002, 7 whole years after meeting Laura, Peter left his wife to join Laura in Canada. Wendy, his wife, with their 4 children, never heard from him again until the day she was questioned by authorities about Laura's murder. Laura's parents had disapproved of Laura's boyfriends in the past who had been previously married, so she kept his ex-wives a secret to her parents. Peter and Laura were married in 2003. Laura got Peter a job within her school district as a truck and school bus driver, and friends said that he would bring her a sandwich to work every day. They did split in 2007 because she was sick of Peter bad-mouthing her parents. She had also filed a complaint with Westlock Police about physical abuse, but reconciled after 3 months. Laura was estranged from her parents and tried to work on it. He loathed her parents and coveted their wealth. He was witnessed to have called Laura cow repeatedly, and they fought in front of witnesses when Laura talked about problems they were having. But Laura was worried about their being shunned by her community if she left him. Growing up, her family took summer vacations in Revelstoke. She couldn't swim, although, and always wore a life jacket. On August 18, 2010, Laura and Peter were fishing in their Zodiac on the Upper Arrow Lake northeast of Vancouver. Peter said she fell by the side of the rigid hull inflatable boat. He said he instinctively grabbed his fishing rod and reeled it in, stating it was fisherman's instinct to reel in his rod while he floated past her while she was flailing and screaming in the water. A statement in court no one understood. How can you stand there reeling in your rod while your loved one is drowning? Peter took his pants off, grabbed a rock to weigh himself down. He flagged down another boater, Ron Hawkins, who tried to revive Laura, who was laying on the shoreline at the time unconscious. Peter said she sank so quickly he couldn't save her, and that he halted CPR because he was worried about losing his boat. Peter joined a neighborhood witness at their home for several days before going to his own home after the accident. He was charged a year later with her murder. Witnesses at the 2016 trial stated that the relationship was rocky. Wendy Skinsky was the principal where Laura worked. Peter asked her to go to Edmonton to look at a water fountain for Laura's memorial instead of going to a store. He went to a lawyer's office so he could discuss with her if Laura had a will, and Wendy thought that she did not. Wendy believed that he never intended on going to a store. Prosecutors stated that Peter killed Laura for life insurance and a chance at her estate. She had a $500,000 life insurance she had for most of her life. It's believed he wanted her dead and then wanted to sue her parents for the money his wife would have inherited. They had took out an accidental death policy only 2 months before the drowning. Peter took many life insurance policies out on his wife during 2007 to 2010. The first trial was in 2016 in Kelowna for 4 months, resulting in a mistrial, and Peter took the stand in his own defense, resulting in heated arguments with the Crown prosecutor Joel Gold, but a single juror refused to convict. He performed a Maori posture dance in front of the court and claimed to be a figure from the Maori legend, Rango Kako of Te Mata. Once his pants fell down when he was being escorted from the courtroom and repeatedly accused the judge and prosecutors of collusion. He would often share his thoughts on Chinese food and his support for Donald Trump. A jailhouse witness, a con man and former cellmate who was paid $5,000 for his testimony, stated Peter tried to pay him to take care of witnesses, including Laura's parents, their lawyer, and witnesses. He also claimed Peter said Laura lowered herself into the water and that she did not fall. That if everything went well, they could relocate to Costa Rica. He wanted to kill one witness in a motor vehicle accident and wanted to burn down the house with Laura's parents inside. The cellmate wrote a letter to the RCMP because he was feeling the conversation was getting inappropriate. He was witnessed to be curious about whether Google Earth was able to record his wife's death. In the second trial, he was convicted in 2017 of first-degree murder, sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. But the BC Court of Appeals quashed his conviction September 2020, claiming a prosecutor made improper submissions to the jury and judge, sharing and providing certain instructions. Instead of going to court for a third time, the prosecution stayed the proceedings and he was released from prison after serving 9 years. Peter had a 2007 Fleetwood Revolution 40LE motorhome that was worth $200,000 US. Apparently, a gentleman named Brian Graham told Beckett he could store the motorhome in March 2012 while he was in prison. Peter made some storage payments, but the motorhome was sold in June 2014, and apparently Peter had known about the sale. Brian Graham sold it for $17,500 to offset storage fees. Graham will not give Peter the name of the purchaser, so Peter is suing Graham for $200,000. Watch for more of this story in the future headlines. My name is Catherine, and this is Canadian Coffeehouse Crime. Thank you for watching The Kiwi Killer, and I'll see you in the next case, which will be the hauntings of the Banff National Springs Hotel. Thanks.
This is Corporal Eric Page. It is June 10th, 2011. The time is 10 a.m. Location is Shelter Bay, Highway 23 South, Revelstoke. This is in relation to file 2010-2720. It'll be the video reenactment involving Mr. Beckett. Paul's probably told you that the reason we're here is because we're trying to find out what happened, and this is the best way that we can figure out what actually happened here. Okay, so you take your time. Every detail that you can remember is going to be important to us. Yes. And I'm going to let you speak. Okay, I'm going to make some notes. If I make notes, it's maybe just a question that's coming to my mind or something, and I'll clarify that later. I won't interrupt you because I don't want you to lose your train of thought. Okay. So I'll just, if something comes into my mind, I'll jot it down, and then later on I can ask you those questions. Okay? Sure.
It's pretty hard for me to talk about. Do you understand that?
I mean,
the bottom line is this. my buoyancy and my limitations with my arm prohibited me from getting hold of it. And after about 6 to 10 attempts, I realised that I had to get some weight. So the rock that caught my eye was had a yellow, just grab that one there. Okay. It's not the right shape, but it's the right tone.